All right, so welcome again. I just started recording, so let me just go back through. For your micro teaching exercise, let me just say everything so that I hope that I answer everybody's question. For the micro teach, you upload your video, and then you select 2 of your colleagues to critique. So you're submitting 3 things. Well, more than that. But you're doing your micro teaching, you're doing a reflection on your micro teaching, but you're also critiquing 2 other persons. Is that clear? Yes? Okay. You are also asking, what was the other question?
For the reflection, are we be doing that or just right?
If you prefer, let me standardize it. I wanted a video. I don't know if it's easier for it. I thought it would have been easier if you just recorded the reflection, but if it's easier for you to type it and submit it, then fine, go ahead. So let us just make this standard. If everybody finds it okay to type your reflection and submit it, just raise your hand.
Miss Berry, the reflection for our micro teaching, right?
Yes, this is where you look back on what you have done.
Yeah, well, I did that already, and I did the recording.
Me too, I did it.
Okay, well, there you go. So you're outnumbered. All right, so go ahead and record it and submit it. That's fine. What was the other question?
I was talking about the critic. I was, for the 2 persons, I was asking whether we just scan the form and send it to you.
But you should be able to type information.
On the form?
Yeah, you should be able to. It's a Word document. It's a Word
document. I can't remember. I'll have to check again. Okay then.
Right. It's a Word document, so you should be able to just enter the information and submit it. Courtney looks stressed.
You said that we were to ask the students to critique us using the.
Yeah, but that one, all right.
Scan those.
Yeah. What I wanted to do was, I wanted you to just go through the process, but I was trying to create as minimal stress, for lack of a better word, as possible. So where the students evaluate you at the end of your micro teaching session, I was suggesting that they could just give your evaluation while you're recording. You do your 15 minutes of teaching, and then they will evaluate you briefly at the end of the 15 minutes. But some persons have, and they, regardless of the fact that it's being recorded, they would still use the same document. So they would speak on the different aspects of the document, right? So they didn't really have to complete. You didn't have to print that many forms because it's about 3 pages, and then they complete it and you scan it and so on. They could just do the evaluation at the end of your micro teaching session and you submit that.
That's what I did.
Okay. Anybody did anything different?
I didn't do that because
they typed it. What did you do? Well,
I didn't have access to print copies, so given where I was. So I told them that I'll be giving them the thing, this time around.
Okay, so
they have not completed the evaluation.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be. All right, sorry. Courtney was saying something that they didn't, his students didn't do the evaluation right after the micro teaching session. Well, as soon as it's done, just submit it, right?
Miss Mary,
Yes.
I did mine right after with the students. So what I did, I've scanned it. So I'll send it. Is that okay? I'll just send it to you.
That's fine. That's fine.
But the 5 minutes reflection, the 5 minutes feedback from the students is part of the recording as well as the reflection. So in all, it should be about 15, 20, 25 minutes, about that. Well, it's less.
Okay.
Everything is there. So I don't have to scan it again.
No, that's fine. What you
Okay.
you just need to tell me, since everybody is doing a variation, just need to say to me that the video includes X, Y, Z. The video does not include the evaluation. It will come shortly after. So I'll know exactly where to find it and what I'm looking for. Yes, Jessica?
Okay. My video includes my reflection, and I sent you a copy of the student's evaluation in the email that I sent.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. All right. What I'm going to ask you to do, I think really, truly you should do. I'm going to ask you if you could just spend maybe about 5 minutes. Just upload the documents that you sent to me. I realize that it will be better if you do it, because then your name and your ID number will be there. So I'm just going to ask you, if you have the documents now, just submit them, please. Just take some time and just upload it. You don't have to do it now. You can do it later on. You can do it during your break. You can do it at the end of the class. Right. So just take some time and upload. Yes.
You have to upload the video to Orville?
No, not the video, because the RVL, the upload limit wouldn't allow it.
Oh, okay. Well, I sent you the link.
Supporting documents, just the supporting documents, and let me show you what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Wow.
Silence your phone.
Roslyn, is that one yours?
Good morning, Miss.
Morning,
And everyone. I was just going to send you an apology there.
Oh, that's okay. It's fine.
All right, well, thank you. I went to the bank and stand in line.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm just taking a bite there, so I'll turn on my video just now.
Okay, that's okay. All right. I remember we're very flexible here. All right. You're seeing the screen. There is the link that says micro teaching support documents. So you put your lesson plan, you put whatever, if you scan the evaluation, everything you upload there. And then the link that says YouTube links for micro teaching video, just put your name and put the link, the YouTube link that you sent to me. Place it there so that persons can access the links and will be able to select the 2 videos to critique. All right, are there any other questions, queries, issues?
Yes, Miss.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure if you spoke about that already, but last class you were thinking of changing the date of the portfolio. I'm not sure if you came up with another date yet.
I
If
think
you're still thinking of.
I think I did. No.
No.
Okay, the 21st.
Well, Miss, let's go with that. Say no more.
Oh, you put it
the 21st.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Okay. I guess I forgot then. Oh, I missed that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Talia, what's up? What's the matter?
Oh, Christmas come early.
Oh, you want Christmas to come?
Oh, no, it just come. Oh, I'm so happy.
All right. Thank you, miss.
Okay, you're welcome. I'm assuming that I should be able to mark all of them.
Oh, yes. And
Talia is, she's so overjoyed. Stressed.
miss, and one more thing. I'm not sure if you did that one already, too. You said that among the documents that you have written test, you were going to go through them and then, you know.
I'll tell you which one you'll be
Yes.
examined on.
Yes.
No, I
Yes.
haven't done that yet.
Okay. All right, then.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. All right. Any other questions? Anything else you want me to talk about?
One more thing.
Go ahead.
With regards to the link that you just opened up, if they, well, initially we emailed you our work, right?
Yes.
Nice. And if there are little bits and pieces of changes, would that be okay? Like changes with what we are going to upload now, compared to what we sent on the mail.
All right. Okay, hold a second. After you've done your micro teaching, you've made some changes and you want to upload.
Well, not really. Well, like I indicated in there's a mail I sent you, miss. And I did say I was having some technical difficulties in organizing my clippings. My video is there. You got the link.
Yeah.
But the clippings for the reflection. And I think I have that in order now. So I think you get the point.
You're referring to when you use snippets of your micro teaching
for my reflection.
Okay, I had said that you didn't have to because I work.
So what if I did that?
I didn't say that.
What if I did that, miss, and I want to send it?
That's fine. Just send me a note.
Okay. Because I thought, well, anyways. I know you said don't use PowerPoint, but then when I wanted to put my voice, I think PowerPoint was
the best.
I used that. Although afterwards, I realized I could have used something else.
Okay.
So I did a little fixing up with my voice and my clippings, and stuff like that. So that will be on the DVD for sure. But I was just thinking, if I want to maybe send a link or something for that, if it would be okay.
Okay.
But my video is okay.
All right. So that's good.
All right.
All right. So if there are no other questions, we can look at the document that says enhancing students' motivation to learn. Dexter, are you okay? Welcome. Do you have any issues? Did you get to upload your video and so on?
I uploaded. I had some issues, but I eventually uploaded. And I sent it to the link.
Okay, I'm not hearing the last part. You said you completed, but?
With issues.
With issues. I think that's a lot of persons.
Well, I feel comforted.
Okay.
I know.
That's good. All right. All right, so we're looking at students, enhancing students' motivation to learn. Now, this is a very important aspect in the teaching and learning process, because as we've stated several times, students come into the classroom with different issues from different backgrounds, faced with different circumstances. And a number of times when they enter the room, the first thing or the main thing on their mind is not learning computer science. It's not learning what you are ready to teach. It's really about what is going on at home, well, how it's going to happen when they reach home, what's going to their community, maybe family, and so on. And so we have to take these things into consideration. We can't solve everybody's problem, but we can do whatever it is we can as teachers to help the students to have that optimal learning experience. And I continue to talk about that. Now, the document, let me see, let me go back to sharing. All right, so the document looks at motivation, and one of the very first things on, one second. On the very first page, it has some quotes from various researchers dealing with the topic of motivation. And on the second page, it has a formula, an actual formula, mathematical formula, that I don't think you can quite use this to calculate motivation, but it claims to. And it says motivation equals expectation times value times climate. And it states, I am trying to all right, I hope that's clearer. Right. Bear with me, I'm arranging the videos and everything. Okay. All right, so it says motivation equals, is everybody seeing it? Motivation equals expectation times value times climate. Should I put up the screen or you guys have it? Okay, all right. All right, so because it is described as a multiplicative function, it suggests that students will not be motivated unless all three components are present. That is, they expect that they can accomplish a task. 2, they find value in the task. And 3, they complete the task in an environment supportive of their basic personal needs. Any thoughts on this? Any thoughts on this? So it's saying here that the students are motivated when these 3 are aligned and they are they're in good stead, these 3 factors. Do you have any personal comments on this? Do you think this is true? Do you disagree? What do you say? Anybody? Okay, so
I agree. I agree because when I'm reminded of the dimensions of learning, and I think the first one deals with creating or stimulating the right attitudes in the classroom.
Yes.
And it is said that, you know, when that attitude, when that atmosphere, you know, of positivity is encouraged in the classroom, you find the children will have that, you know, they'll be motivated to learn.
Yes.
You know, so I agree with that formula.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Rosalind. Anybody else? I mean, there are several of them. This is just one. All right. So maybe as we go along, we'll get some comments. All right. So There's another concept also on the same page. Eccles and Wigfields. I hope you can see when I attempt to highlight. That there are 3 types of value that may be associated with a task. And one is the intrinsic value, the simple interest or enjoyment. So this is coming from within the individual. Attainment value, the value of obtaining achievement, notoriety, or influence through accomplishing a task, what they can get from it. And the utility value, the benefit to one's career or other personal goals associated with performing a task successfully. And this threefold concept suggests that teachers need to ensure that at least one type of value is present if students are to be motivated by the task. So in this case, not all 3 need to be present or need to be in good stead. Not all 3, but at least one. All right. All right, as you go through the document, there is one little thing. All right, so as you go through the document, you will realize that there are a number of academic needs listed. All right, so I apologize. Some of the pages are upside down. And academic need 1 is not shown here. But the second academic need is understanding the learning process. So it is important that the students understand the process of learning. This is what they talk about, metacognition, when students think about how they learn. Not just to learn the thing, but to think about how they learn. And this can help them to not only remember, but to be able to transfer whatever it is they're learning in a particular class. It goes on to talk about 6 key concepts. And the first one says, develop a functional definition of learning, understand basic concepts of motivation. And it's under this one, it lists some things that you look out for. Now, if you see a student with his or her head on the desk, what are some of the reasons that could the student could be placing the head on the desk? Tired.
They're not feeling well.
Okay. So,
Hunger.
well,
Hungry.
Disinterested.
Don't want to listen.
They're hungry.
Hungry.
Yeah, they could be thinking back on something that happened at home, probably quarrel with parents, fight at home, something like that.
Okay. Well, what do you do in a situation like that?
Well, one of the things I would do, as long as I get other students to settle and to do what, get them occupied, then I'll go up to the students, silently, probably whisper in the ear, how are you? Or maybe just touch him on the shoulder and, just offer to listen.
Okay. Anything else? That's pretty much it. All right, so you want to speak to that student individually to understand what is happening with him or her. Yes, Ophelia?
I was just thinking.
Oh, you're just thinking? Oh, all right. So I thought you were going to comment on something. All right. So the attributes of a successful learner have been listed here, and it states that the successful learner keeps eyes focused on speaker, concentrates on their work, is well organized, cooperates with others, follows class rules, sets goals, stay calm when having a problem, uses time wisely, learns from mistakes, shared material, does not give up. And they sound like they give encouragement, they use appropriate voice level, ask questions, ask for help when needed, share ideas with others, comments are on task, they don't want to divert and mislead and throw your class off the path. They're courteous to others and they use problem solving. What percentage of your class do you think are successful learners? Just a rough.
Well, I know at least 1 out of 11.
At least. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Alexi. Right?
Because she sent me an email last night to say she finally got her one.
Wow.
I'm all excited.
That's nice. Congrats.
That's why
Results are out.
Yes.
Okay.
Came remote last night.
Wow. All right. So, Taylor got some feedback from one of her students to say that the results are out and she got a 1 in her CAPE exam. So that is very good. All right. So also the other factors. The other factors in understanding the learning process, you have to be able to appreciate and use one's special abilities. You should, over a period of time, find out, you should learn about your students. You should know what your students are capable of, what your students' limitations are. So you should also learn about, the students should also learn about their learning style. They should also understand the taxonomy of learning. Now this gets a little deep, and I think this would refer to, of course, older students, because I'm not so sure if it's applicable to the young ones. This would be a little bit difficult in bringing across this kind of information to them. All right, and it also looks at levels of instruction, the concept level, generalizations, and personal application. This information is in a little table at the top of page 201. It matches the different areas, the different levels of instruction to Bloom's taxonomy. When you're talking about facts and concepts, generalizations, and personal application. All right, I'm just browsing through. So I'm going to take you to taking you through. There's a table. All right, now this one, unfortunately, again, there's a table on page 218. Unfortunately, it's turned sideways or vertically. All right, it looks at 9 types of adaptations. And the topic, the headings: input, output, size, time, difficulty, level of support, degree of participation, modified goals, substitute curriculum. Now, I'm sure, we all know the importance of planning. But when we come to a class, depending on what is happening, at times we have to modify, we have to adapt, or we have to adjust whatever it is we have planned to include and facilitate whatever is happening in the class. Not that we have to change because of the students all the time, but we have to be able to, based on what is happening, we have to make sure to make that judgment to make sure that we can provide, again, the best conditions for learning. So the first one says, the instructional strategies used to facilitate student learning. This is input. For example, use of videos, computer programs, field trips, and visual aids to support active learning, right? So we have to take those things into consideration. If you realize that you come to a class and you're using a particular method, it's not working, then you have to make sure that you modify whatever it is. Try other methods, you use other devices, aids, tools, materials to sort of bring out what you want the students, the kind of activity you want the students to be able to want to participate. For output, the ways learners can demonstrate understanding and knowledge. So to demonstrate understanding, students write a song, tell a story, design a poster or brochure, perform an experiment. Also, what you can do, there are several things you can do. So instead of just doing a test, there are several things that you can do. You can utilize project-based learning so that the students will create something over a period of time. The third one says size, the length or portion of an assignment, demonstration or performance learners are expected to complete. So in a case where you realize that maybe the task, you give an assignment that you want the students to do, but you realize that it might be a little bit challenging. The example here, you reduce the length of report to be written or spoken, reduce the number of references needed, reduce the number of problems to be solved. So I will use our example here. In a case like this, when the course is run normally, you would have to do 4 micro-teaching sessions. You will micro-teach 3 on your own, and then you micro-teach 1 during class. And those 3 sessions have to be recorded. You have to have your students and evaluation and so on and so forth. You do your reflection, you have to include your snippets of what you've taught in your reflection. There are a number of other things. Also, your lesson plan portfolio with Activate 20 lesson plans. So we look at all of that and we realize the time, and we realize everybody's stressed, and we realize that it's just almost next to impossible. And so I had to modify these things, right? And so as teachers, as we go through, we have to bear those things in mind. It's not that way. It's not that you're going to get a lesser value out of the class. That's not the situation. The thing is that you want the student to get that experience so that going forward, they can apply whatever skills they have learned. But you don't want the student to be overwhelmed so that they might go out and pay somebody to do it, right? I know nobody in here is going to do that. But you find that in some SBAs, with, for example, in information technology, a number of students get other persons to do their SBAs for them. But I think the problem lies in how it is implemented, because there should be deadlines to meet, should be done over a period of time, and feedback should be given and so on and so forth to assist the students. All right, I'm going to ask you to just spend a few minutes and go through the next 6. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to read through the next 6, and then I'm going to, I'll tell you what you're going to do after. So it's a little difficult tilting your head, but.
What's the page number?
It's 218.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So yes, so you're looking at time, difficulty, level of support, degree of participation, modified goals, substitute curriculum.
Scan itself as well.
All right, are we finished? All right, so we have our regular class and we have some special students. So let us take, for example, we have a class with one student in that class who is repeating your class for whatever reason. So the student would have gone through, is a fairly bright student, would have gone through the material already and is repeating. How do you accommodate such a student? Then you have one student who is challenged so that person has a difficulty learning, how do you, when I say challenged, I'm going to say, I don't necessarily want to put one of those. Okay.
Asperger's.
Asperger's. Oh, that's mild autism? Okay. All right.
Suggestive.
Okay. All right. So that's, you have a student that, I'm not sure that gets into that stage, if they would, no, not that it wouldn't come under, if they would have, sorry, I'm just saying something to failure. If they would find that, you would find a student in a regular class?
Because that's the mildest one, that's the one that they're most likely to be verbal and have a handle of their own issue. It would be socializing.
Okay.
So you find that they're mainstream.
All right. All right. So, all right. I'm using Taylor's example here. So we have one student who is repeating and already familiar with the content, and then we have a student who has mild autism. Taylor, let me allow Taylor to tell you what the characteristics of that include.
Hi, everybody. When a student has Asperger's, they or refer to themselves as an ASPI, they have the mildest form of autism, which means that they fixate on things easily. So if their fixation is science and you're the science teacher, then yay. But if their fixation is science and you're the English teacher, not so much. They have social issues, but they're able to meet their deadlines, they're able to do the work, they're able to do their readings, and in a lot of cases, they actually do it better than some of your other students. But because of the social issues, things like group work are a difficulty, and if it's not the area that he or she is fixated on, they might find it harder than most because they just can't understand all the things that need to fit together.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Taylor. All right, so with that in mind, what are some of the, how can you adapt or adjust your class to accommodate those students? And just think of the 9 adaptations and speak on them. You don't have to tell me about all 9, Rosalind. I saw you unmute your mic and you muted it.
No, Miss, honestly, I'm still trying to access that document.
Okay.
You know, I maybe was going to try to answer, but I suspect you want answers from the document, so I muted my mic.
Are you able to see it?
Well, I was downloading. It was taking a little while to download, and it's motivating students to learn, right?
Yes.
That document, right?
Yes.
Right, and I am on the OVLE trying to download it there. It's looking very pale, so I'm thinking of maybe I should print it out to see if I can see something.
Okay.
So
maybe it takes a while. Maybe it takes a while to focus so that you see the words.
Right. So I really, I couldn't read. Okay. I did not read. So.
Okay. All right. Anybody wants to make some suggestions? All right. Let me pause that. Hold that question. Have you ever had any exceptional students in your class and you've had to adjust your whatever lessons, you have had to accommodate them on a daily, weekly basis? Is there anybody able to share such an experience?
Okay, Ms. Berry, Dana.
Yes.
I had a student who was, well, she wasn't blind, but she was partially blind.
Mm-hmm.
And she was in a normal class setting. I had her in Form 1 and I had her in Form 2 and 3, I think.
Wow.
As well. what I did with her, I would like print out when I'm given like work and stuff. I would print out activities for her in a bigger font. So all her documents, whether it's notes, exercises, whatever, I would print it out probably in a size 16 for her, or a bigger font, so she could easily read it, because she was supposed to wear glasses, but then she doesn't like the glasses because the children, because of thick lens and stuff, children used to make fun of her, she said. So I would just print out her work in a larger font, and I'll probably use more colored stuff for her, so she could easily see if we're doing an activity and she has to choose certain things, and she could easily recognize certain things.
Okay.
But in class, she looks normal. She participates in class and stuff. It's just a sight. And of course, for her, if I'm doing board work, I would, well, of course, I normally print out most of her stuff for her. So she has the stuff she could just follow from the paper that she has.
Okay, that's good. All right, so you just spoke on what you did was you looked at input, because you had to modify the resources that you used for your other students. I'm just tying it back to the document here. Yes.
I understand. But then her activities, she was like just like a normal student. She could have, when you gave her the assignments and stuff, she brought it back within the specific time.
Right.
It's just that she just had this disability that way she had. But she was just like a normal student, taking part in class and doing everything else like everybody else. Her work was standard. Probably you would get a little letter missing or something like that. But then she was just like the other students.
Okay. Right,
so she kept to deadlines, and she could have followed in that class. I don't know for the other classes, but she could have followed in mine.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anyone else has an experience they can share?
Well, this is Jessica. I never had an experience, but from reading the document, you could look at the level of support. If you know that child has specific needs, you as the teacher can make sure that you give that child that extra support that they need, or you can pair the child up with another student in the class that would be able to assist, or if she needs anything, can let you know and can just help out in the class.
Yes. All right. And if you can't assist, well, as you said, to pair with someone else who you know is capable, because you don't want to pair the student, have the student assisting, and then that student's work falls behind. So you have to, know who to select, right? All right, is there anyone else?
Well, I don't have a personal experience. I can only tell you one that is related to my nephew. Whilst he was attending prep school, and I'm speaking with respect to substituting curriculum. He was one of those learners that generally, for God's sake, catch on to things quickly. So he was easily bored in class because sometimes he would be ahead of the other students.
Right.
And so after a while, it would become disruptive because it's as if you didn't have anything to challenge.
Right.
I remember the teacher spoke to his grandfather, which was my father, about his behavior. And when he confronted him, he was like, "But I already know all those things, and I'm telling her that I know all those things, and she keeps insisting that I still need to do them." So he just refused to do the work because he said he did it already, and it's not in you. So I think, as it said, in scenarios like those, you have to find a creative way to find a way to substitute something within the curriculum for that person. Probably, the rest of the class you continue on along the regular path, but then you probably give that particular student a little more challenge,
right,
to keep them engaged.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that's another good example. It's truthfully, we ought to plan for those situations. If you just meet a set of students, then you will not be able to know their capabilities. However, after a few weeks, you should be able to tell that there are some students in there who would be bored easily, who you need to challenge some more, who you need to support some more. So in that case, having that knowledge, you need to plan accordingly. So they are called exceptionalities. Right, so those are exceptionalities, and you have to plan for those students. All right, so I notice I'm pointing you to these parts of the document, so you need to pay attention to these things, right? Also, here, figure 6.13. It looks at, it has some headings here: time, learning environment, content, and organization. And the first one, under time, it says giving a longer time to complete assignments. So you have to be mindful of the fact that students are doing several subjects, and you don't want to give them too much to do in a short period of time. When they do that, you find students they are not able to engage in the activity so much. You might find that they go and find something from the internet, copy and paste, maybe make minor modifications. Maybe they ask someone else to do it. So you have to be mindful of those things. Allowing the student to work at reading and writing assignments for a short period of time, perhaps only 10 or 15 minutes, depending on the student's ability to concentrate. And then you have other types of activities for short periods of time. Setting up a specific schedule for the students so that they know what to expect. Alternating quiet and active time, if you do have that in your class, having short periods of each, and reading the test if necessary. I don't know if you do that. I guess you figure everybody is able to read, so you don't need to read a test, but you could do that. Or at least you would give them time to read through the test before they begin, right? Learning environment, I'm just going to pick out there's first one says permitting students to do their work in a quiet, uncrowded corner of the room or in some school area they choose. However, do not isolate them against their will. What do you think about that one?
What if it's necessary?
If?
What if it's necessary?
That's a good point. What if it's necessary to isolate them?
I had an incident towards the end of last term during end of term exams. There was one boy, he just could not keep his mouth closed during the exam, and we had to take his desk and chair and put it outside. And he settled down and he'd do his work, and we didn't have a problem. He actually liked being by himself outside during the exam. And we actually had other students who were asking to go outside also.
Was the room hot? I mean,
no, it was not hot. No, it's just, I don't know. He just sees other people and he's distracted by the other students in the class. So sometimes he just needs to be isolated so that he can concentrate on what he's doing. That's what I think.
Okay.
At my school, we do the same.
You do this? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask some clarification though. What do you mean by do not isolate them against their will? I don't think to understand.
All right, let me just point out that this is
foreign?
I was just about to say, and I'm not going to say American, but it is not a local document, and I doubt it's Caribbean. So it is based on their particular context. So apply what you think is applicable. What you don't think can work, you can leave that off, right? Because there are situations that will require us to isolate students.
Oh, yes. Oh,
yes.
Yes.
Yes, a number of situations. So you can ignore that part of it if it does not apply to your situation. So yes, if they're going to disturb an exam, yes, you take them out, you isolate them. Whatever other reasons you can identify. As long as it's not discriminating, then that's fine. We do this a lot. Number 2, placing the student close to the teacher for immediate help when needed, or placing this student near the teacher to keep them sort of in line. We do that. Separating the student from students who are most likely to be distracting. You'll find that a lot. You have some students in the class who decide that they're going to be disruptive no matter what. And so you try to, but what I think most people do is not to try and separate them. We are very short on space. I don't know about most of the public schools are short on space. So we have to work with whatever space we get. So this isolation thing, unless you're sending them outside, as you're placing them outside, as Jessica said, we don't have a room to isolate anybody. So we work within our space. And you've said it, others have said it in our class, in our maybe previous class or one before that what we've done is sort of break up the distracting students so that they're not together, so that they are in separate places, and hopefully with other students, they will do their work. All right, and you can read through that. Content. How can we adjust? Giving a lesser amount of work. That can be a little difficult sometimes because we tend to teach to the curriculum and teach to meet exams and so on. So it can be quite difficult. I see Dexon giving me that nod there, that yes, it's so. We have to meet certain deadlines. We have to complete the curriculum. We have to complete the syllabus. So it's a little bit difficult. But if you can break it down, give them a small amount of work over a period of time, that would be good. Also, breaking assignment down into short tasks. If you've used or done SBAs, this is what SBAs are. This is how SBAs are supposed to be done. You can't give a student a big project like SBA 2-3 months before it is due for marking. So I think, well, yes. Taylor said yes, they used to, yes. I agree, but they realize that if you want the students to be participating and you want to see the students work, then this is not going to be effective. So you break it down and you have them complete over a longer period of time. And you have deadlines and you give feedback and you assist where possible and so on, right? Including assignments, including in assignments only material that is absolutely necessary. Another thing also, including, there are some textbooks that students go to school with that they don't use at all. As parents, you will recognize that students get a book list, and then there's some textbook. I can speak from experience. My geography textbook I didn't use. But luckily for me, those books were rented, so it didn't cost me, my parents separate. Yes, but they're not using them. So if you don't, anything the students don't need to know, leave it out. Okay? All right. Picking up work as soon as it is completed. Giving immediate feedback on tasks or work completed. Now, I failed miserably over the past couple of weeks with that. It's been very chaotic. I have promised and have not delivered where that is concerned. So let me confess immediately. But we should give immediate feedback as immediately as possible. We should give feedback so students know where they stand, so that students can correct themselves if necessary, and so on, right? And the list goes on: eliminating unnecessary words on tests, capitalize and underline words such as always, never, not on test, avoid negatively stated questions, especially in true or false questions. I'm sure you, in your assessment, did you look at, in the course of assessment, you look at creating questions and so on? Okay, beautiful. All right, and it looks at organization, how to organize your work and so on, how students should organize their things. At the end of this, though, I want to point out something that is called a success contract. Have you ever done anything like this? Have you had students sign an agreement? I know of teachers who've done that, but have you ever had your students sign an agreement that they will participate and they will do their best, and as a form of motivation? Yes, Dana, you had something? Okay. All right. So the success contract says, I, blank, have decided that I want to pass. Put in your name there, class. That cares about my being successful and has agreed to provide the following assistance. You have stated your assistance. What I will need to do in order to take advantage of these opportunities. The student would list the steps there or the tasks there. Mr. Jones or Mr. McTavish, and so on. So will examine my progress and share it with my parents or guardians, and so on. So who is the support person on X will know I have succeeded when, and what they look for when you're succeed. What's the criteria or characteristics of success, and then the student sign, teacher sign, support person sign. Do you think you can use something like this? Think about your students. Do you think you can use something like this in your class? Do you think it would be helpful? Let me put it that way. I hear Courtney answering. Let me.
I was saying, not unless you probably say that there will be some mark allocated to participation. Usually, they will sign the contract if you ask them to, but I don't know about actually sticking to it unless there's something to encourage them.
Anybody wants to comment on that? Remember, this is coming from a gentleman who is not been in the public system. Let me put it that way. So do you support what he says? Do you think what he's saying holds true? Yes?
Rosaline, I did not hear everything he said, but I did hear him say if this has to be done, it's all about sticking to it, something like that. Yeah. Right?
You want me to?
Okay, Courtney's going to repeat.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, what I was saying is that I think the contract is a good idea, but I can only see it being useful or fully useful if there is some amount of marks or benefit assigned to it. So if you tell them that, okay, if you participate, there is a 5% of your grade or something, then they will actually do it. But otherwise, from that, probably they'll just sign it because you ask them to. But as to sticking to the actual agreed contract, I don't think it would be the case. Especially, I know that for Jamaicans, at least.
All right, what say you?
Okay, well, I agree with him in the sense that it might be a little difficult to really stick to it. But I like the idea of that success contract because I think it is something that the teacher could refer to at a particular point in time. Probably, if the child, has strayed, from what is stated in the contract, it would be something good, to just, go back to it, retrieve that contract, and hey, speak to that child and remind the child, hey, you remember what you signed? I just want to, remind you and encourage you not to give up. Something that you can use to check back, so to speak. But the teacher has to really stick to it, remember to stick to it, and I think it can work very well.
Okay.
Because many times children go astray, like in other words, they lose focus.
Yeah.
They lose focus, and this is something that you can use, to bring them back on track. So, yeah.
Just
Well,
someone else was talking.
Go ahead after you finish.
Oh, no, I just wanted to ask Rosalind, considering your students,
yeah,
do you think all will willingly sign?
Well, there were times when I did something similar. It's not a contract, but at the beginning of the school term, I asked the students, to write out, some of the things they expect, like their expectations.
Yeah.
And sometimes what I do, I file that, but sometimes I even forget where I put them, So that's why sticking to it is important. But I can get my students to sign that success contract. From the onset, when school begins, I have everybody to do that. Because normally at the beginning of school, everybody is excited and wow, and they're ready to learn and ready. So it would be a good time to introduce that success contract. But as Courtney said, it's all about sticking to it. Remembering to go back to it, because that is how I think it can be effective. To remind the child, hey, you remember what you signed? Let's go back at it. Let's see where you're falling short. Da, 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 da.
Okay. All right. Okay.
But I will try it. I will try it.
Okay. All right. Let me hear what Ophelia has to say.
Okay, I was saying I agree with Courtney. I agree with Rosie in the sense that it can be tried. However, nobody likes changes. And if it is a norm in the school, like everybody, all the teachers use it, it becomes a norm. You are consistent, then it can work. But if all of a sudden I just decide on my own to do that, it may not work.
Okay. That's a valid point. I like that one.
Yes, just to add, to support Courtney on the motivation. At the end of the day, the children who have really successfully kept that contract, they could be rewarded, with something. Yeah.
Yes, that's one here. I also agree with Courtney on the motivation aspect of it. The schools, I've been to schools that we have tried the contract for various reasons. As a means of motivation, as a means of probably like a threat to punishment as well. And the first 2 weeks, it's on everybody's mind, and after that, everybody forgot about it. So as Roger said, you should bear it in mind. Additionally, I have not done it on paper, but there are students in, let us say, lower stream that I've seen that are very promising. And I said to them, I looked at their work overall, and I said, if you continue the way you're continuing now, it's possible that next year you'll be moved up. And that by itself was a great motivating factor. They came to me, they did their work, and they said, sir, do my work, sir, and they were at me, sir, here's my work, and they were, sir, is it true that I'm going to a higher grade, and so forth. So this contract, it is possible if the students really believe that there is some genuine reward attached to it.
Okay. So there was renewed hope then. All right, let me hear Taylor. Go ahead.
I haven't done it myself, but my fabulous HOD introduced the idea of creating a guide. Originally, she did it with her sixth form, but now she does it with both her exam groups. So when they get there in 10th grade and they get there in 12th grade and again in 13th. And what she did was she created a document, and the document outlined everything that they'd be doing for the year. They would cover the key points of their syllabus, tips for their SBA or IA, meeting places. She set up all their different online things, what they have to sign in and so on, as well as first. So it has basic information so they're not going to throw it away. And then in the middle of it, there is a contract that specifies that they will spend the required amount of time doing their revision every week, preparing for tests. She's also one of those teachers that can tell you from day one what dates she's going to have her tests on, so you know that's not me. Yeah, and then she has the blank spaces for them to fill in, so she can tell you at the beginning of each term when those tests will be. So she have those. So it's a very important document to them, but it also has a contract that specifies what their behavior should be like, what kind of revision they need to do, and so on and so forth. And she makes them kind of forecast what kind of grade they expect to get, and they sign it, and she signs it. They have a copy, and there's a section that they have to tear off and return. I think initially she had it so that the parents had to sign something as well, but we don't have to worry about that part, since at the school as a whole, once you get your package as a new student, there is a section that says you agree to the rules of the school, and the teachers also, the parents also sign that in. And then when they roll out, they bring your own device thing that require another set of signing. So they've got everybody signing all over. But as it relates to her class, they have their guide with all their information. She signed, they signed, she has a copy, they have a copy. And so because it has all this other information, they're not throwing it away. So at the end of the term, or as they're approaching a major exam, she's able to say, okay, everybody take out your guide. That's one of the things. They have to carry the guide with them to school every day.
Okay.
It even goes so far as to specify things like making sure that you have either one big notebook separated into 3 or 3 separate books for the different, so that the notes related to programming stick with programming, and the notes related to theory stick with theory, that sort of thing. So that is 10th grade, that would be 15.
Okay.
As well as 12th grade, 16, 17, and 13th grade. So 3 different levels.
I figured that would be the more mature group.
Yes,
it sounds that way.
One would think so.
Yes.
It requires a different kind of teacher completely.
Yes.
But I like the fact that she put it all together. She kind of snuck the contract in there. So they can't say, Miss, I don't know what you're talking about, because they're always referring to it. It has information on the syllabus. It has, I think she started putting information from the timetable. CXC puts out their timetable years in advance. Yeah. So she can specify for this particular group, your exam is going to be on this date at this time, and so on. So they don't want to throw it away. They don't want to misplace it, because it's got everything in there. Yeah. It's practically a textbook by itself. Wow. You know, I mean, it doesn't have the information, but it's got the other important information. Yeah. I thought that was cool. And I do notice that her student, because there's a constant reference to it, it also specifies what she agrees to do. So she agrees to put up the information that they need on their online source a week in advance. She agrees that when there is a test or something, she's going to push to have children that she got married. So
okay, I like.
There you go. There you go.
I hope you heard all of what Taylor said, because my question is, and this is a question I was going to ask before. The question is, what kind of implications does this have for the teachers? Because if you realize at the top of that contract, it says, has agreed to provide the following assistance. It means then that you're not only holding the students responsible, you have to hold yourself responsible. So what kind of implications does this or would this have for you as teachers? I mean, do you think you are able to keep this up? It's not a one-time thing. It is you have to maintain it. It means that you have to be a super
HOD.
Yes, super HOD, well organized, very disciplined individual, time on task. You have to be all of those things, a good manager of yourself and time and so on. Thinking about that now, what kind of implications, having thought about that, can you manage such a thing?
What? No, I'm not answering that question at all. I'm saying right here being very quiet.
All right, I realize nobody wants to answer that. All right.
Woo. Yeah, that's serious. That's a serious thing to think about. But I'm thinking, Miss, as the teacher, yes, as you said, the teacher has to be disciplined and really, on top of things. I really agree to that. But if the teacher keeps in communication with the parents, in that way, in a sense, the teacher can have, as people say, no blood on her shoulder. Yes, it is saying that she has to provide the following assistance, but it doesn't mean that every little thing the child needs, the teacher has to provide that. I mean, the teacher could simply liaise with the parents and let the parents know, hey, the child is not doing a particular task, maybe homework or whatever, and so I would like you to, step up and help your child. In that way, the teacher is assisting, So to me, once the communication is there with the parents, I don't think, the teacher is to be, blamed or anything. Per adventure, the child does not accomplish, success, so to speak. What do you think?
I'm going to allow, anybody wants to comment on that?
Mr. White, right? Everybody talk today. I agree with Rosalind, but I don't think that there's anything wrong with drawing up a contract that works for you. I don't think if I were to draw up a contract for my students, I'm not going to draw up a contract that looks like Miss Berry's contract or that looks like Mr. McTavish's contract. I would draw up a contract that I know I can meet.
Right.
Maybe find the very least and then jump it up a notch. So if I know that there's no way on God's green earth I am promising anybody the specific date and time I'm going to give feedback, I'm not going to put that in the contract. I may say something along the lines of, I promise to give feedback, verbal or written. I may put something along the lines of, I will record when students have done the work, and maybe after the third item, I will call the parents, so that lets the student know how many free chances they have. That also lets the parent know, if you hear me call, it's because blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to put in something that says that I'm going to bend over backwards and you're going to do nothing, because I know what I have to work with and what I have to deal with. I guess that's the benefit of coming up with a contract yourself.
Yeah.
You know where your limitations are. Just my thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And so, Miss and class, putting together a success contract, do you think that a teacher should do that all alone? Maybe, doing that without the consent of the principal or the HOD? Because there can be implications, as we are saying.
It can be.
So should I do that? Should I do that as an individual teacher?
I think you should first speak to your head of department. That's the first thing you should do. But I don't think anything that you're putting in the success contract, I don't think that it should be anything that you would do outside of your regular duties as a teacher. So it really shouldn't be something that they'll say, oh, no, we can't have that. No, not at all, not under our. Whatever you're putting in there, it means that it's something that you do anyways as a teacher. So you're just committing to it. You just have it on paper. You're expressing your commitment to do those things. And as Taylor said, you're not putting anything in there you know you cannot manage. I'm not going to tell you that, once you submit your work, I will give you feedback within the 2 hours. I'm not going to tell you by the end of the day. I'm not going to tell you that everything you send to me, I'm going to give you feedback right away and so on. You put in things that you know you can maintain. What Taylor said about her HOD who did this extensive, detailed guide is that this lady is not married. She has no children. So you have to consider all of these things happening in your life and to know that, what Taylor's HOD is doing is not something that you can necessarily take up because of your other responsibilities. You have to look at it as a whole. You have to bear everything in mind, right? So the first thing though, Rosalind, talk to your HOD and hear what he or she has to say, right?
Yes, I will. I'm laughing because I don't think my HODs are like Talia's HOD. I wish I had an HOD like Talia's HOD.
Okay, so are you hinting that maybe that person is not as detailed or as organized? Is that what you're hinting at?
No, what did you say, Miss?
Are you saying that your HOD is not as detailed or as...
Oh no, Miss. Oh no.
So you fear that you might show up the individual?
I might shock?
Show up, as in you might,
Miss, I have to behave myself. When school reopens, I must behave myself. Because this thing is arming me and making me feel real dangerous. And probably I might just go and have my own private school,
That sounds
because,
like
wow.
Because I need to implement those things. I mean, you all are teaching us good stuff.
Okay.
But I know what I'm getting there is going to be more. It's like I just have to try to exercise some of these in my own little world, so to speak.
Okay.
I have to be careful. It's almost like Miss G in the movie Freedom Writers.
Uh-huh.
I will get lashbacks, so to speak. So I have to be careful.
Okay, I understand.
Rosebean.
Yeah.
That's smarter. You could bring in the principal. Like when you have department meetings, you invite the principal to your department meeting and then you make suggestions. So it's not just you. The principal is aware of what you're doing.
I know. Well, I that's a good idea. I'll start with the principal.
Yeah, so you start with that and you
I'm
make
not an HOD. I am not an HOD. I am not an HOD.
Well, I understand that, but the last thing we think is the children. We're talking about the students.
Yeah.
That's our main concern. So you invite the principal to your department meeting, and then you make suggestions to your department head. These are things that we can do to help out the students and stuff like that. How it goes.
Good.
Started going.
Yeah. I'll try all that and pray first. Okay.
Yes.
Or even get your PTA involved as well. So I'm sure.
What did you say, Courtney?
I'm saying you could also probably think of getting the suggestion to the PTA level and get them involved as well, because certainly if the parents is pressuring the school, then it will make a greater impact than you trying to do it from your end. So.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
All right then.
That's a very good question.
Probably all of us in this class, maybe we should just, go and start a school or something.
Sounds good. Where should we have it? Jamaica down for St. Lucia.
Yeah.
Well, we can. I don't mind starting in Jamaica, but we will extend it to the other islands, as time goes by.
I want to come to Jamaica.
I don't mind starting it in Jamaica.
Anytime, Dana. You're welcome to come anytime.
Okay.
All right. So we are going to pause right there. We're going to take a break. or half an hour break, and we will return at about 11:30, 12:30 your time. And we'll continue. We're looking at questioning also today. And we just have some one and two things. I'm weighing my mind and see how we can do the final class. I will not give you the day off, but I'm seeing how I can give you some time to do some work, right? So we'll see how much work we can get done. So half an hour break and we'll be back shortly.
Miss, before you go, I was looking at how I can send in my video link. But I'm seeing some options, HTML, wiki. I really don't know which one I should choose.
What I wanted you to do is to just copy and paste the link. 1 second. All right, let me take a break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
So to look at it from a student angle to see what they're seeing, and then I will answer your question.
Let's just
okay then.
Okay, I'm muted. I'll check. All right, so I'll see you shortly.
Bad things happen when I hold on to Twitter. All of a sudden you're like, let me just find the file. Where's the file? Is some water. Don't get this.
Okay, welcome back. All right, so the remaining document that looks at, or the remainder of the document looking at the enhancing students' motivation, I'm going to just ask you to go through that on your own and peruse that on your own. What I'm going to look at is the use of questions. All right, so Rosalind and Ophelia are still on break. All right, so there's a presentation there and the supporting document. What you realize is that they, let me just make sure. Give me 1 second. All right, so whatever is in the presentation, the document has it, and in greater details. Just give me 1 minute. I'm trying to rotate it for you, please. All right, so the second link that says using questions in teaching and learning. Could you just click on that link, please, and tell me whether or not the document is right side up or still upside down?
Which topic?
We're looking at questions, use of questions. So the first link says use of questions, and that is a presentation. The second link says using questions in teaching and learning. It should be a PDF document.
It's upside down.
It is?
Yeah,
refresh your page, and try the link again. You refresh the page. Okay, let me see.
Some first two kids
It still is upside down.
Alternate.
All right, I will have to fix that.
Please, can you put it so that so it is a file that we can download? Because I think if we open it as a PDF, we can rotate it.
Okay. All right, it should download automatically instead of opening up in RVLE. All right, so we're looking at the use of questions. We do this all the time. I'm not sure if when you plan, though, you put questioning as a teaching method or activity, but we do it all the time. We have to ask questions. This is how we get information from the students. But there are different types of questions, and there are different levels of questioning. I think we are all aware of the fact that you can have closed-ended questions or open-ended questions. This is one main type. So either you have yes/no questions, questions with specific answers, or you have questions that allow persons to express themselves where there's no one correct answer. Those are the two main categories, and depending on the kinds of questions that you ask, of course, will dictate the kind of information you get and the depth of information that you will receive. All right, this presentation, right, was put together again by Dr. Daly Morris, and the objectives have been stated here. And it mentions that the act of questioning is very important. And so the skill of questioning is something that we have to develop as teachers in order to be effective. So the type of question that is posed by a teacher should serve as a cue to the level of thinking that he or she expects the student to engage in. Now, if I have a class and I ask, let's say we're looking at shapes, and I ask students, how many sides does a triangle have? We'll get 3. How many sides does a square have? We'll get 4. if you want to talk about now, well, there's not really much you can ask on shapes. But if you have a three-dimensional figure, then you can talk about the surfaces, you can talk about the vertices, you can talk about all of those things, right? Let's take, for example, the use of applications. Going into information technology, we look at use of applications. What kind of application is Microsoft Word? Then there's only one possible answer, and it's word processing. It's a word processor. If you want to talk about now how you can utilize Microsoft Word in your workplace or as an individual, then you start to get variations of answers, right? So we being armed with this ability to question, then we find that you'll have greater results in the whole process of questioning or use of questions, right? And this, of course, comes from experience. So a teacher could cue students to respond to a question at either the lowest mental operation / convergent thinking, or to use the highest level of thinking. Some of the reasons we use questioning include, and they've been stated in 4 categories: to review and remind students of class procedures. So you come in, you ask, okay, so class, what do we do before we sit down? What do you do when you enter the room? What do you do when a guest comes in? We do that all the time, right? What are some of the things that we need to do when we are addressing each other or addressing the teacher and so on? Also, to gather information from them. What are some of the questions that you ask your students to get information from them? Talk about, list, describe, state. What are some of the questions that you ask? Compare. What is the difference between? Right, so we differentiate. What else? Identify. All right, let me get I will, as I go along, I will get specific as it relates to the topic, so we can put together specific questions on that particular topic, right? All right, so we can also ask questions to discover student knowledge, what the students know, and we can also ask questions to guide the thinking and learning. I think number 4 is one of the most important ones, the critical ones, the ones that we have to develop our aptitude in. So guiding questions are those questions. First of all, are you following? Let me just pause and ask that question. Are you following in the presentation? Yes? No, all right. Let me share Dexter. Let me share the screen. All right, so we should be good now. All right, so guiding questions are used by a teacher to guide the student thinking. Now, a topic is placed before you, and depending on what you ask, it will determine the path along which the students think. So if we are talking about, let's do a current event, something that happened recently. Can somebody suggest something that happened recently?
Locally, internationally?
Anyone?
Obama's visit.
Okay, let's look at Obama's visit. Now, if we start to talk about, if we ask a general question like, what was your favorite moment of Obama's visit, we start to get all kinds of answers, right? What if we...
Jamaica.
All right. Exactly. And I'm sure a lot of persons would say the same thing, and we'll get that same kind of reaction in your class. But you have to bear in mind now, why are you going along this path? And so you use that to determine the questions you want to ask. Okay, so now if I ask, did you watch the forum and the question that was asked, let's say from the, what was the name? The Rasta, yes, who asked about the legalization of marijuana. Then you're that's more of that's a very focused question, and then the student will have to think deeply about what the answer was, and so on and so forth, and then you can take it from there. So you have to, when you're questioning, you bear in mind where you want to go, the path along which you want to travel, and based on that, then you will know what questions to ask, right? All right, so examples here to develop appreciation. Do you understand the difference between differentiated instruction and individualized instruction? This is just one example. Do you, go back to programming. Let's look at programming. Do you understand, what's a question you could ask on program? Do you understand the importance of programming? That is one question.
Do you understand why we follow steps?
Do you understand why we follow steps in problem solving? What else?
You know, to do a simple algorithm.
Do you know how to do a simple algorithm? Are you able to complete?
You know the characteristics of an algorithm.
Do you know the characteristics of an algorithm? What exactly we look for? What makes an algorithm? You know, this cause students to think that little 5-letter word it seems a simple word, but you find that a lot of persons, or a lot of our students, I'm going to say persons in general, they don't think. It's easy to open your mouth and speak, to regurgitate or to repeat whatever it is but the thinking aspect of it, and this is why we promote and we talk about promoting and developing critical thinking skills, because these are the kinds of qualities we need and the attributes we need in our students. So we have to start, it has to start from home, but when they come to us, we have to do our part as teachers. All right, so another example here where it says develop student thinking. What do you suppose happens to a student when he or she asks a question and is ignored or insulted by a teacher? Now that of course will get students to think, right? They will start to give examples. Maybe they will speak from experience, and so there's some amount of reflection going on. But if you ask students things like these, then you'll have the students, you'll have their minds working. One example to diagnose learning difficulty. For example, what part of the syntax of C++ are you not understanding? Now, if you ask a student, I don't know if you get this, if you ask a student, what don't you understand? You find that they're going to say everything. And so you have to be specific and you have to say, okay, is it the syntax? Is it the part about algorithm? Is it this? Is it that? And so on. And you break it down and you ask specific questions so that you can get specific answers to be able to assist the students, because students are like that. And the truth is, it's not everything, but they just feel complacent, for lack of a better word. I didn't want to say lazy, but they really and truly don't want to have to analyze and think about it. And so they just say everything with the hope that you as the teacher will look back at everything. But we know better than that. We don't have time for that, right? So this is just another example to also emphasize major points. If no one has ever been to the Bermuda Triangle and returned, how can we be sure that it exists? Now, this is something that you think about. You think about. I mean, you can also, there are a number of things you can ask as it relates, and of course, it depends on the topic that you have. There are a number of examples that you could use. You can use it to encourage students. So you did not remember the quote for print. What really impressed me in your program was your opening statement. Do you know specifically what aspect of the opening statement impressed me? And you get the person thinking about it, right? You also do it to establish rapport. We have a problem here, but I think we can solve it together. What do you think should be our first step? So you get the student first, you sort of boost them up, as we would say. You make them feel good, want to participate, and then you get them involved. You stand a better chance of the student participating that way. You also use it to evaluate learning. What is the effect when you create a relationship between two fields in a database table? And of course, if you know nothing about database, you're not able to answer it. At that point in time, you'll realize that this student doesn't know it. The student grasps the basis of it, the basic concept, but is not able to probably implement it or to create a relationship or something like that. All right, it also gives practice in expression. For example, Anthony, would you please share with us the examples of pseudocodes that you found? So in repeating, in sharing, then that person helps to, you're helping that person to remember. Helping students in their metacognition. And remember what metacognition is. The example here, yes, something did go wrong in your program. Do you still think your pseudocodes are correct? If not, where were the pseudocodes in your thinking? If you still think your codes are correct, then where may the error have been in the algorithm of the program? How might we find out that? Now, this is a compound question because it's taking the student along a particular path. The student will look at different possible answers, and based on the answer, then they know how to answer the following question and so on. And also they have to think about the process that they underwent in probably putting their program together to know where the error is and how they can go about fixing that error. Help students interpret materials. Something seems to be wrong with this application. How do you suppose we can find out what is wrong with it? And so they have to think about possible solutions again, based on their experiences. And the beautiful thing about it is that different students have different experiences, and so you will find different solutions to such a problem or answers to such a question. Help students organize materials. I'm going to skip through a few of them. Provide drill and practice. Provide review. And show agreement or disagreement. Show relationships such as cause and effect. What do you think will happen if the internet vanished from the face of the earth rather suddenly? That's an interesting question. I think some persons would just stop living. I think persons depend so much on their devices and the fact that their devices can connect to the internet. It would create a lull in people's lives. And also based on the questioning, you can build the curriculum. For example, using students' questions to form the basis of what they will learn. All right, now, here are some questions you should avoid. I think we've come away from, as teachers, over the years, we've had to take out corporal punishment out of the schools. And in addition to that, we are advised not to use certain words. One word being lazy, I don't know if you're told not to use that. Certain discouraging words, words that tend to be demeaning or belittling. So you should avoid questions that embarrass or punish students. Now, if you know that, and we've done it, if I am teaching my class and Courtney is sitting at the back chatting, and I know Courtney is not paying attention, and so I decide to say, okay, so I teach, and then I have a question. So Courtney, if I add this, that, and that, based on what I was showing a while ago, what is the answer? Courtney is not able to answer, of course. This, of course, can have different effects on students. Some students might react, and some persons might ask, Miss, could you repeat the question? Some students might lash out. Some students might say that you're picking on them, and so you'll have different kind of reactions from different students. So you should avoid questions that embarrass or punish students. Call for little or no thinking unless you follow up with a clarifying question. So you don't ask for yes or no questions. You want them to think. So you avoid asking students content questions when you know he or she was not paying attention, in the example I gave, or asking questions to embarrass or punish students, which borders on abuse. We have to be very, very careful. All right. Can you give an example of, I'm going to pose different scenarios. The first one is when you ask the class a question and you got a response from a student that was very shocking. Have you ever had such an experience? You asked the class a question and you got an answer from a student that was very, very shocking. In any way, positive, negative. I see Dana smiling. Anybody wants to share?
Like me, they would just say anything out of the way?
Like any...
That's what you mean?
I'd prefer if it's something related, they're answering the question, but it's just something that you honestly did not expect at all. Never had that experience? Okay, all right, hold that thought. What about when you've asked a question and the student gives an answer that you did not, it caused you to think about it. Think about it to the point where you want to think that, that makes sense. You did not expect that as a possible answer, but based on how the student expressed himself or herself, you thought about it and you say, this sort of makes sense. Have you ever had any such experience? And you want to share? No? Are you still thinking about it? Everybody's awfully quiet. Jessica? Still thinking about it?
I know I've had that experience before, but I can't remember what the situation was or what the question was.
Okay.
But I'm sure I have been in that situation already.
Okay.
Same here.
Yes?
Yes, same here. I've had a few of those, but can't remember the exact scenario or the exact question or statement or so. But generally, I tend to act surprised when my students give answers. Yes, that kind of a thing, kind of. But there are times when I get interesting answers, especially from those gamers, the computer, the one that are heavy on computer and gadgets and so forth. Because I am out of the gadget scene for a while now. I don't follow up on those things. So those guys give me like the newest device on the market or so. I get interesting answers where that is concerned. Yeah.
Okay.
Miss Roslyn.
Yes.
Just like Jessica and Dexton, I'm sure I've had more than one of those experiences, but I don't really remember clearly. But as Dexton was speaking, something came to mind. I remember I was doing a topic on climate change, and there was this student. She knew so much about climate change, even more than me. I was very much impressed at what she knew. And so what I did, I organized a little class panel discussion, but I used the students themselves. And she was one that stood out in the panel discussion, and I also used her to come to other classes to share what she knew. And at the end of the day, I big her up in the General Assembly in front of everybody.
Okay. That's good. That was good. All right. All right. So we'll hold on that experience. The one thing I could think of was not related to information technology. It was a class, what they call values and attitudes class, and we were looking at. They have a curriculum for that as well. And as a form teacher, you do it with your class, with your form you've been assigned to. And we were looking at the aspects of Jamaica that make Jamaica, the country it is. And we listed things that were good, things that were bad. And one of the things that was listed were bad words, which we call curse words. I don't know about St. Lucia and Dominica. We have a few of them. And we'll put it on the side of things that were bad. And so we talk about what makes it bad. And one student said, no, it's not bad. It can be bad, it can be good. So I asked her to explain why would bad words be good? And she spoke so well. She said, well, they are sentence enhancers. And I said, that's interesting. And to this day, I've never forgotten that. That's about 9 years now, and I've never forgotten that. When you think about it, if somebody says something to you, and they put one of those words in it, then chances are you'll remember it. Yes.
Example?
So, repeat that, Dexton.
Example to share with us.
About sentence enhancement.
Yes.
Oh, this is recorded, hello.
No, I don't have such an example, Dexton, to share with you. I'm sure as you step out from class.
Visit a fabric store, Dexton.
Here, Taylor telling you to visit a fabric store. And do remember this is recorded. Yes, but I'm sure as you enter, you leave home and so on, you go on the road, you will see many examples. So you'll hear a lot of them. So you won't be short on examples. All right, but that is just one thing. I was trying to think of something related to information technology. But as you said, you go through to experience it. It's just that you might not remember them now. All right, so types of cognitive questions. Clarifying, convergent, cueing, divergent, evaluative, focus probing. and Socratic. All right. What I'm going to do, I'm going to assign quickly. You're going to read on it. It's in the document. And then we'll look at Socratic afterwards. I'm just randomly assigning one of the types of questions. So Taylor will look at clarifying. Courtney, you look at convergent. Dexton, you can look at queuing questions. Rosalind will look at divergent thinking. Jessica, look at evaluative. Dana, look at focus. And Ophelia will look at probing questions. I'm going to give you 3 minutes, 4 minutes to look at that, and then you just share with and give an example. Share with each other, and you give an example of that particular type of question. Okay?
Do we use that PowerPoint?
Yes, you read as I said,
our VLE, if that's what it is?
Yes.
Okay,
so you're going to, its greater details will be found in the PDF document because it's taken from the PDF document.
The same one we were looking at this morning?
Yes. No, the second one with the upside down. Yeah, so.
Motivating students.
No, the link that is below use of questions.
Oh.
Yes. What you find is that any presentation, most of the presentations tend to have a PDF document that follows it. So you'll see the link to the presentation, you'll see the PDF link below it.
Okay.
Right. So you look in that document and you can get
divergent thinking.
Right. All right, so I'll just give you a few minutes to do that. You look at the type of question, you give an example of the type of question. Okay? All right, so I'm assuming we're all done. All right, so we're going to go in the same order, starting with clarifying questions. So if you can just go ahead and just, again, tell us what kind of questions, to give an example of the kind of questions those are.
Hi, everybody again. Clarifying questions are the questions that the teacher would ask after the student has commented on something or made some presentation. And they're the kinds of questions that restate what the student said, so that the student can say, yes, miss, you're right, or no, what I actually meant was. It also demonstrates teacher interest. So if the student says something and the teacher says something along the lines of, what I'm hearing you say is that you want me to extend the deadline, or you are having problems, is that correct? And then the student would say, yes, that's correct, or no, what I actually meant was. So it reinforces, no, not reinforces, it
emphasizes,
restates, rephrases what the student said. If it's in a situation like a presentation, it would clarify it even without the student answering for the other students, but it also allows the student an opportunity to add or subtract something that maybe didn't come across the way they intended initially.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
All right, so my question was convergent questions. Basically, these are questions that seeks to just get one correct answer, which is usually the best option. Generally used like in tests, multiple choice, etc. A common question would be, how tall is Mount Everest? It can only be one correct answer, so you couldn't get anything that allows the student to think outside of the box. It's more closed-ended than open-ended type question.
Okay. All right. The next person is queuing questions. Is that Dexton?
Yeah, that's me.
All right.
Okay. So queuing questions are questions that, after asking a student another question, and they are having difficulty with answering because they don't have enough information to answer the question. You go and ask queuing questions. So queuing questions are questions that give some clue as to what the answer is. For example, if you ask a student, how many legs does a lobster have? And no one can answer. You may say, okay, they are part of the decapod group of species or group of animals or so forth. You may ask them, decapod, okay, so what is a decathlon? A decade, decimal, decimeter. What do all of those have in common? Right? And of course, what do all of those have in common, class?
10.
Decade, 10. Good, so that would give them some clue. And this kind of question is, I see used in some kind of games, guessing games. You know, when you turn your back. And okay, let me stop right there. But you get the general idea, right? Questions with clues as to what the
how to answer the main question.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. All right. We got that. Thank you. Next is Rosalind. Is that you? Divergent thinking?
Yes, miss. Divergent thinking. basically, this is similar to brainstorming, so to speak. The students are encouraged basically to come up with a new direction or a new perspective on a given topic. So they can be asked, questions relating to imagine, suppose, can you create, what are the possible consequences? So an example of a question like that could be, the computer correct spelling, is it then unnecessary for third graders to take spelling tests? So students would then be able to bring out their views, so to speak. And I see that type of questioning coming in, a lot, where with having a discussion, where you allow them to talk and bring out, each bringing out their own view, their own viewpoint, their own perspective on a particular topic.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, evaluative questions, is that Jessica?
Yes. Okay, evaluative questions require students to place a value on something, to make some kind of judgment. You would use those questions to find out what a student thinks about a particular topic or particular thing. Those questions would begin with defend, judge, justify. What do you think about something, or what is your opinion about something? An example would be, what do you think about capital punishment for drug dealers? You want to find out what opinion that particular student has on the topic.
Okay. All right, thank you. And focus questions?
Focus questions. These are questions that launches like project-based learning. It helps students to focus on a topic at hand. They are open-ended questions, which means that they do not have a clear-cut answers. So students have to research, they have to go out and get information. It helps them to create, to construct, these are questions that helps to construct your own answers and give meaning to the research that you got, the results that you got. Okay, it helps, well, it focuses basically on problems like for local, regional issues. It helps the students to think deeply about the topic, okay, the issue at hand, and to research, like I said, produce original thinking. So a question like this would be an example. What do you think animals would want to say to humans? Or can we get the students in the school to keep the school environment clean? So students have to research and come up with answers for those.
Okay. All right, thank you.
It's designed to make students think and come up with solutions.
Okay. All right, thanks, Dana. And probing questions, that would be Ophelia.
Okay. Probing questions required students to think more deeply about the issue at hand. And an example would be, what is the best way of delivering the concept of algorithm?
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. You're welcome. All right, so what you find is that the different types of questions, most of them are questions that require deep thinking. The last type is Socratic question. And these are a series of questions that are asked of students that gradually bring them to a point where they have to look carefully at their own ideas and think rigorously for themselves. The example given, I don't know if you've ever watched House. If you've ever, House is a movie. Sorry, I TV series, a show that where the doctor himself is called House. And
Dr. House.
yes, and so there are some patients that come in with some very weird issues, cases, illnesses that, yes, nobody else can figure out. And so he has to ask some questions, just as though doctors, because doctors are really practicing, they try to diagnose and heal or fix with different prescriptions or medications. And you find that you have to go through that a number of times before they can actually, they say, okay, this is really it. And it is through his questioning that he understands, okay, this is what the patient was doing before. These are some of the things that the patient did over the past couple of days. Based on that, these are some possible things that could have happened that would have affected the patient, in this particular way, and so on and so forth. So that's why this example is there. However, I'm going to take you to...
Miss, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Would that Socratic questioning, would that be the type of questioning that a psychologist would ask? Or a counselor?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
You know, I'm thankful for that presentation, Miss.
Yes? Okay.
Yes. Because normally in my lesson, right? If I want to use questioning in my lesson, I would just state questioning as a strategy. You know, but today I learned now I wouldn't just put questioning. I would look for, the appropriate type of questioning that will go along with my objectives. And now I can name my question. I could say Socratic questioning, probing questions, etc., etc.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm happy that your phone is useful or finding it useful.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Very useful.
Okay. There are quite a few videos on it, but this one gives some clues or cues or ideas of how to actually do this method. So I'm going to play this video. Let me.
I now strategies like this, and this is the Socratic method. The way the Socratic method was developed comes with this fun little anecdote. One day, the man goes to the Oracle of Delphi and asks, who's the wisest man in Greece? The Oracle says, Socrates. When Socrates found out, he was a little surprised. In fact, he thought it was a paradox. Wouldn't you have to be wiser than me in order to know how wise I am, in order to tell me that I'm the wisest? And thus began the Socratic question. Another strong component of the Socratic method is any child that discovers the question why. It's time for bed. Why? Because you need enough sleep for tomorrow. Why? Because otherwise you're going to be tired. Why? Okay, because I said so. The Socratic method is really valuable in places where students are learning ethics. It's like...
All right, let me pause right there. You realize what the example he gave when children are when children discover the act of questioning, the art of questioning, when they start to talk, everything is why, and so it causes you to think, and as he gave, you probably get to that point like he did, and just say, because I say so, or because I'm the adult and you need to do what I say, and so on and so forth. But it serves a purpose. So let us see what else.
Be in a civics class, or law class, or history class, or just as a teachable moment as kids are playing on the playground. The primary goal of this method is not to try to have students answer unanswerable questions. It's to have them think critically about difficult issues. In order to use the Socratic method, follow these steps. pick a controversial topic and provide questions for students, or have them develop their own questions, or develop questions as a class. The teacher is going to start out leading the discussion. However, as the year goes on, it'd be wonderful for students to start taking on the leadership role. After starting the initial open discussion, the leader's role has these following things. Keep the topic focused and don't allow tangents. Coax reluctant participants into the discussion and limit contributions for dominating students. Force students to elaborate and clarify their contributions. As the discussion continues, at some point it's going to get confusing. So the leader's responsibility is to clarify, synthesize, and restate earlier opinions. The participants share the responsibility of the Socratic discussion also. They must think and speak persuasively and use the discussion to support their opinion. Now required.
Let me pause right there. He said a lot. He's going fast. I hope you are following what I know. Okay, what I'll do is I will post a link so you can watch it over and over. But he said some of the things that you've said also, where you, in the different types of questions that you use, you restate what was said. Another thing he said also, you have students who will want to dominate a conversation. So you limit the amount of contribution they make. If you would say it's one time, you get 2 chances, or you get 1 minute to say what you have to say, or 30 seconds to say. You limit them. So you monitor and you control the discussion. Also, instead of you as a teacher always having asking the questions as you go along, you have the students develop questions on the particular topic so that they can ask those questions as well. All right, let's continue.
Requires them to actively listen to the discussion in order to use it for support later. Participants must demonstrate respect for different thoughts, values, or ideas, and it's important they don't interrupt each other. The Socratic method is also used in law schools, but with a little bit of a twist. In this case, the professor calls on a student at random and puts that student on the hot seat. The student then has to answer the question and all subsequent questions that the professor asks. The professor then takes the role of devil's advocate and forces the student to defend his or her opinion as the professor keeps on coming up with refuting arguments. One hallmark of the Socratic question is there's no one right answer. As a recap, the Socratic method is a strategy that challenges students' assumptions and causes them to think critically about difficult issues. In order to do it in your classroom, start with a good open-ended question, ask follow-up questions, and then summarize everything together at the end with different thoughts and new learnings. That's all for this video. If you have additional questions, you can connect with me on Twitter, or by email, or by commenting down below. And subscribe for weekly strategies in your newsfeed. I'm Alex, and that's Teach Like This.
All right, so let me, all right, so I'm assuming you followed. Makes sense, yeah? All right, let me find, there is, okay, there is one with some,
See a prostitute, I wonder how people feel when she goes trying paper stuff.
All right, let me share this one. We're going to watch part of this one. I have to share first, keep forgetting. All right, so we're going to watch another video. All right, so can you see the rules? No raising hands, don't talk over others. It's a discussion for learning, not a debate. So again, as the first presenter said, that they have to learn to appreciate others' comments, right? And there's no one right answer. So let's see.
In the beginning of the story, he was like, he was talking about how he became in the 11% institution. But he was like, but I don't want to tell you my whole life story. So, and then he did. And then the whole thing played out. The whole story played out, and then he started visiting people that he was.
She was saying everybody was funny, and he didn't like nobody, and then he realized he was alone, and everybody who said was funny was actually like not bad for him, but like entertaining. He didn't have to use slower down, alone in the craziness.
I agree with him because he was he talked about those people real, like he was really talking about the bad, but in the end he was just missing like, dang, I'm phony. I was like nobody like me or something. Like that's probably how he felt like. Yeah,
because now that he's in the midst of the mental institution, he's just like there's nobody there for him. Like he can't even entertain his own self, but like he just sit there and look dumb. Because now I'm just saying, like he really could. He just sit there and look dumb because nobody's there for him to talk to. He can't talk to anybody. He doesn't have any friends. But to all the people that he actually had cared for, he doesn't have them anymore, besides his sister. But he still can't even talk to her because she's not with her.
Feel better. So then, like some people, like I forgot that lady name, Sunny. Like he felt bad for her in her situation, like thinking like, oh man, like she a prostitute. I wonder how people feel when she goes trying to pay for stuff. Like, and then he started feeling bad. I mean, that's probably not why he didn't like have sex with her. He was nervous too, but that probably contributed a lot. Well,
but that's one of the only people that he actually felt bad for. And most that through the whole thing, like you know how his sister was like, he felt that his sister was his only friend. Never, not once did he even say anything from her, like anything negative from her.
All right. All right. So, what are some of the things that you notice happening in the video?
Well, persons were sharing their thoughts. It's similar to divergent thinking, right? They were sharing their thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah.
What else you notice happening?
One person was talking at a time.
One person talking at a time. You notice the arrangement.
Yes.
Right. So they are arranged in a circle. So they are looking at each other. What else?
Nobody asked questions. Nobody raised hands.
Nobody raised hands, right? They just were free to express themselves.
No one attacked anyone's comment.
Nobody attacked anybody else's comments. Anything else?
No, they were just building on what each other say and just providing clear, greater and greater clarification.
Okay. All right. There was one with some. There are a number of them that you can look at. There was one with some. Let me just get that with some children, but I wanted you to see older ones, how older students work. All right, but in the meantime, I'm going to, when I find that, I will post the link for you. All right, so what I'm going to do, or what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to give you a topic, and the topic is data types. Data types. And I'm going to ask you to come up with a few questions. A few questions that will help the students. Let me just set it, this scenario. The students are being introduced to data types for the first time. This is not a revision class. This is not a follow-up class. This is the first time they are doing data types. And what you are going to do, you are going to put together your questions that would help the students to, you're going to unearth what they know and link what they know to what data types are, to the characteristics of data types and so on. So through your questioning, all of that must come out. So I want you to think carefully. First, you have to know what data types are. You have to know what the different types of, the different data types. You have to know the characteristics of data types and so on. And then you can put together your questions. Am I clear on what you're going to do?
And the question is, any particular question?
Any
questions?
All right, I'm going to limit you to not more than 8 questions.
And the purpose of the questions is to get them to a point.
It's guiding questions. Yes.
Hi, I didn't get the instructions. Could you repeat? Yeah, could you repeat?
Okay,
please?
I will repeat. All right. The topic is data types. You are introducing students to data types. So they know nothing of data types. They're doing the topic for the first time. And you're going to use the act of questioning to unearth what they know and to sort of link it to what you are going to teach them. Yes. And so as I said, Dana, I recognize that you will have to know what data types are, what data types exist, to be able to put your questions together. So I am going to give you a few minutes. I said no more than 8 questions, 5 to 8 questions. And we'll see how that unfolds. So think about it, put together your questions, and then we are going to share. All right? I'm going to give you about 15 minutes. Is 15 minutes good enough time? All right, let's work with 15 minutes and see where we get. I think this should be good. Skips.
Every simple question is a question. So, so last question. That's not going to help you unless you know what to do. So, do you want to pay? Do you want to pay? Oh, she did? Yeah. Um, I said, have you ever filled in a form on a So, have you ever filled in a form on a, have you noticed that there are times you can't enter a name or something? The questions that came up each line said that might take a bit of stand up, take a break. So, the situation that I'm up with 6 questions related to super able to solve things from others. Also ask questions like, what do you understand? Take type. Assuming that he's written said it.
Then we get very
We don't either. Oh, you don't know either? No. Up to last week, we thought it was joint. Okay. That's why I tell you, you guys need to talk. Please.
I suspect that everybody knows
Yeah, that's why it's when you said that the was to be a joint because Mrs. Wells is obviously practical and it's very strong because it's just a great fighting and it's just close your eyes and wake up and it's
Right, here we go. All right, so 15 minutes went. That was quick. Are we finished? No, Ophelia said no. Eating what?
mango.
Someone said you're busy eating mango. That's why you're not finished.
No, he finished a long time. No more mango tomorrow.
Okay, tomorrow you eat more mangoes. Okay. I don't know if you can DHL or FedEx mangoes, but that is being suggested. So.
I'll try to. You don't want me to email it instead?
My belly needs some assistance.
You're killing me.
All right, we soon break. Taylor's echoing my sentiments that yes, we are hungry. We still get a break. All right, so let us share what we the questions that we have. But before you do that, let me just let me just show you something that you are familiar with, of course, because this is your work. I'm not asking you to identify if you are part of the group, but these are the questions. Remember when we looked at deep learning, and it's not quite shallow learning, it's surface learning, but these are some of the questions. So the third one, it has questions on the deep learning and questions on the surface learning, and it really it focused on the content. Focus on the content in that case, explain the concepts of algorithm, identify the 5 steps in problem solving, can you explain how this topic related to the other topics, and so on and so forth. What I wanted were more general questions, to just based on what they say, then you can identify where the students are. So this is a good attempt, but I wanted your questions to be more general. And so the second one, this one asks the person to rate themselves, 1 being strongly agree, 4 agree with very little, agree very little, or disagree completely. And so you have a teacher's inadequate delivery, so and so and so. I will take special care to understand. So this is general, and this just looks at learning overall, or a lesson, or classroom setting, teaching and learning experience. So this is something along the lines of what I was actually looking for. And this one also. So these, based on these questions, then depending on what the students answer, then you can decide whether or not the student is a deep learner or a surface learner, right? So this is me just giving you feedback on something that you did some time ago. All right, so we're going to ask you now to share with us the kinds of questions you would ask if you are doing the topic data types. How do you get the students, how you get to unearth what the students know? How do you get to use it? One second. Oh, just one thing. All right, who do I ask to go first? All right, so Courtney is volunteering.
Since I know I did most of foolishness, easier to get out of and get the right things.
Be confident, Courtney, be confident.
So the first question I have is, what is data and how is it stored?
Okay. No, go ahead. I need to see a line of questions.
And I say, why do we need to store data? Well, this is assuming that they would have already gone through what data is from hardware and software fundamentals. Right? Can you think of anything that you would store as data? How would you store it? What have you noticed about filling up a form? Why do you need different types of data storage?
Okay. All right. How many questions got? 6, 7?
5.
5?
Well,
okay.
One of them wrong. So it would be 6.
Okay. Thank you. Don't do away with those questions yet. Let me ask someone else. Are you still writing your questions? I see persons. Or Dexter, they look like you buy some numbers. Okay, I was just wondering.
Fine-tuning.
Okay. All right. Anybody else would like to share their questions? No, be confident, Dana. I mean, we're not judging you. Remember, we're here to help each other and to develop this skill that we have to master the craft. Anybody else?
Sure, Miss.
All right, Taylor is going.
My questions are: one, have you ever been to the supermarket and seen the details on the register?
Mm-hmm.
2, what comes up on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
3, what are some of the things you buy in a supermarket? 4, what do you understand from the word data? 5, what do you understand from the word type? 6, and is the amount of bags of chips and the name of the product and the price of each bag the same kind or type of data?
Mm-hmm.
And then why do you think so?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Did you get those questions? I hope everybody heard. Okay. I'm not commenting until I hear others. I am not commenting.
Oh God, let me try. I'm just gonna read what I have, okay?
Okay.
All right. What is a data type? What would be an example? How do you know? How does data type relate to real life?
Mm-hmm.
Could you give an example?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say more about that?
Mm-hmm.
What are the characteristics of data types?
Mm-hmm.
How do we go about finding out whether that is true? That's it.
Let me just make a note. How do you go about finding out? Yes. All right. Thank you. Yes, Jessica. Go right ahead. Unmute again. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. First, I would ask, what do you think data is? What are the different types of data that you know of? Could you give examples of characters that you can type on the keyboard of your computer? What's the difference between numbers with decimal places and those without?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Next on, it sounds like you wanted to say something.
Yes, I hear bits and pieces of what I wrote. Okay, so I would go around the world. But ask them, what types of mass or item would you store in a cup,
Mm-hmm.
bowl, plate,
Mm-hmm.
basket?
Okay.
Good. Next, would you treat them the same? Would you treat each item the same way?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Then, what are the kinds of data that a computer would ask of you, or would ask to type in on the keyboard? Do you think the computer would treat each the same way?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next, what's the difference between a single character, a number, a word,
Mm-hmm.
a number with a decimal, a number without a decimal?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's it. That's it.
Okay, Ophelia, right on there. Yes.
Okay. My first question.
Mm-hmm.
When you say the choice of a numeric data type depends on the type of number that is being stored and how the number will be used, what did you mean? Can you repeat? 2, which is What is numeric data type? 3. Do you know what are the characteristics of numeric data type? 4. Why do you think it is necessary to learn about data types? The end.
That's it?
Yeah. But how many you said?
Repeat that.
How many did you say?
5 to 8 questions. And you had what, 4?
Yes, you're supposed to give one for me because she had me talking.
Okay.
How big is that mango? What is the data type it would fall under?
All right. So, all right. Dana, it's your turn. I think everybody else spoke already, so it's your turn. You can't get away, Dana.
I've been distracted with some issue there. I don't have a lot of questions, but I'll read what I have. The first question I'd ask is, what is data? Mm-hmm. And I would also ask them, what is a data type? Mm-hmm. What do you understand by data type? And then with that, I would guide them and say, look at your keyboard, because we're in the lab, computer lab. So I'm going to ask them, look at your keyboard. What are some of the keys that help you to input data into the computer? And then from that, they would be given the, and that's why I stopped.
Okay.
So from that, the information that they gave, I would tell them to probably classify the information that they gave, numeric, the character keys and all these things.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I like it. I like what I'm hearing. All right. Now, if you listen carefully, you found that there are some questions that will just common with everybody. What is data? What is data type? Those are common questions with everybody. But what you'll realize, the difference is that for some, those questions fell further down the list than some. Some persons asked that question right away off the bat. That was the first question they asked, as opposed to others. I can't tell you that maybe this set of questions would be way more effective than others. But what I can tell you is that there are some, okay, I'm going to call persons. Ophelia, I think your first question was a little bit too, it was too detailed, maybe lengthy. It was too technical. I don't think you should start with a question like that. Immediately you'll find persons blocking you out because they are perturbed and can't answer the question. So from the first question, that's it. I don't know what Mrs. is talking about. I can't answer. So you think of something else that you can start with. I liked the Dexton's example and I like Taylor's example because what the words I used was I wanted you to unearth what the students knew first, and then you utilize that to teach your lesson. So when you talk about the supermarket, or you talk about the bowl and the cup and whatever it is, then they are able to relate to those things. And I'm sure you more likely get them to participate if you start there. So start there, and then you can put your questions together to get them to link what they know with where you want them to go. This is where they are, and this is where you want them to be until you can make that connection. So I really like the questions that I heard. You thought about them because they were logical in terms of steps, in terms of sequencing. They were good examples. All I'm saying is that you try to make it as interesting as possible. You can think of even more culturally relevant examples in your own setting. So, of course, good job, everybody. But again, I'm sure you learn from each other. So you think about it when you're doing your questioning next time in your classes. There are two questions that the last question that Courtney asked. What was the question you asked, Courtney, last one?
Why do you need different type of data?
Why do you need different types of data storage? Maybe it's something else. Okay. And the question before that?
What have you noticed about filling up the form?
Okay. All right. The question before that, what have you noticed about filling up? That was a good example. But I think when you went there, I wasn't sure why you went to why you need it. It wasn't the flow. Maybe the placing of that last question, you could change it around. And what was the last question you asked, Rosalind? You're mute, your mic is mute.
Yes. How do you go about finding out whether that is true?
How do you go about finding out whether? All right, so these questions are forcing the students to think, to really engage in some critical thinking. All right, so I hope this example was helpful. I hope you find it. Did it help? I hope it did. Yeah? All right.
Yes, it helped, Miss. And yeah, very good. Help us to ask questions in sequence. I think it was very interesting.
Okay.
Very interesting.
What you can do when you ask, think about when you're asking the question, when you're putting together the question to ask, you can think about when you ask one question and you ask, if you ask a question, before you ask the next question, do you think there will be a gap in answering, in the student's ability to answer? So you can check that to make sure that there's this flow. All right. Yes.
One more thing I was going to ask. When I look at the Socratic questioning, to me, I'm seeing all the other types of questioning, are coming in. You can incorporate all of them into that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But it looks at it tends to go a little deeper than that, because you look at all the circumstances surrounding that particular aspect that you're learning about. And also one of the things is that when you answer, you have to provide support for your answer. You can't just off the bat say something. You have to make sure that what you're saying, you have something to support it in evidence, right? All right, so are there any comments, anything you want to add, anything you want to state, anything you want to include at this point in time as it relates to questioning, use of questions? Yes, I mean, the art of questioning is not only in classroom, in the teaching and learning, it also has to do with your exams, which you learned in your assessment. It depends on what you ask, depends on how you structure your multiple choice questions, can determine or give away an answer to the students of which one to choose and so on. Based on the questions you ask, the open-ended questions you ask, the kinds of answers that your students will give, all of those things. All right, so no comments? Or is there anything else? I'm not going to add anything else for today. Is there anything else you want to mention, note, ask, state? Yes, Rosalind?
Just reminding you. Oh, no. Forget it. I remember I got the answer. Okay. You concerning posting our link.
Right. When you go to I looked at Thalia's screen, and when you go to the wiki, there should be a tab that says edit. You should go to that tab and you post it. So Thalia already posted, I think Courtney posted, I don't know if anyone else did. So you post it somewhere below those. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any?
Miss Berry, excuse me.
Nina.
I'm still looking for the model lesson plan because I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. using that format because this format is totally new. We normally use something different.
Okay. Let me turn the camera on myself.
I know you're busy and I know, but then I just want to know to make sure that my 15 plans that I cannot do is done in the right format.
All right. It's the kind of thinking I want to see coming out in your plan. So honest, all right, there's something I have to do. I have a deadline to meet tomorrow. So I am hoping to be done by midday tomorrow, and then because I had all intentions to give feedback on the 2 lesson plans from the groups and to upload that model lesson plan as well. I will upload the lesson, do the work on the lesson plan first, and then give feedback on the group plans after. So I'm hoping to do that before the next class. I don't want to have this conversation again. I think it is. I don't think I want you to ask me about it again. So I will do it. I definitely will do it before the next class. All right. Any other comments? Anything else? Any other issues that you're having? Just reminding you that your exam is next week, Monday, 9 our time, 10 your time. Yes.
I was just coming to ask, are we going to get guidelines for the exams?
On Wednesday, I will tell you exactly what.
Wednesday too far.
Wednesday's too far.
You ready for it for Monday?
On Wednesday.
Or this weekend you want it?
I will give you, I will tell you. I'll see what I can take off, because you notice anything that says test, that's what you'll be examined on. But I have to look and see if I can exclude any. So I look at the links and tell you.
You're going to confer with Mr. Rodney whether or not that's already in a combo?
No, it will be separate exams.
You say
as in on the same day?
Just Rodney. Yes. Oh,
okay. All right, I will speak to her. Yes? I will speak to Mrs. Rodney.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Wow, I was going to talk about something with reference to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know you say you will tell us next class, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to know, do we have to write on paper or just
no, it will
online?
be computer-based. It will be computer-based, and it will be a mixture of questions. Short answer, multiple choice.
Okay.
I don't think I'm giving you any true and false. So short answer, multiple choice, and essay type being, it depends on what the question asks for. It might just be maybe just a few paragraphs, not necessarily 2,000. It won't be 2,000 words. Anything lengthy might be something that you'll do in points format. But I personally, I don't require essays because essays are a little bit lengthy to read. So,
okay, so you will speak to Miss Rodney.
Yes.
To really maybe keeping the time free for us so we can study, right?
Not exactly what I was going to talk about.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
But what I can talk to her about is your final exam, when that
okay.
So that we are organized and so you guys can get time, there is no clash and so on. So I will talk to her regarding that.
Miss Barrett.
Yes. Go ahead, dear.
Yeah. I think our last class for the other class is on Monday, right? It's on that Monday, right?
The last class is on a Monday?
Yes, because we missed. I remember she said there's a makeup class.
Next week.
It's next week, Monday?
Well, that was what we had set up to last week. because of the holiday last Thursday.
Oh.
Yeah, she said she was going to give the makeup class on the Monday.
All right, let me speak to her because this exam date was set at least a month ago.
Okay then.
Yeah. So and it, as I said, I could change, and I changed the portfolio submission date because I have control over that. But the exam, they have to put in preparation. They have to prepare in terms of getting invigilators and so on. So I couldn't change that. So I will talk to her, and let me talk to her this afternoon before I leave the compound, so that she can talk to you in class tomorrow. Yes. All right. Are there any other issues? No. No.
Yes, issues. I was thinking, Miss, the video that we have to, the DVD that we have to send you, right? Should I wait to have my portfolio printed and everything in order and then just send you everything? Or do I have to make an extra effort this week to send you the video and then still make an extra effort?
You can wait because, as I said, I wouldn't ask you to incur 2 set of costs to send it to me. Okay. This is why I'm saying to you, submit your video via YouTube or Dropbox so that I have it to mark ahead.
Yes.
And then I will place a link. Let me just do that for you to upload your portfolio so that I will have that to mark as well. And then you can submit your documents afterwards so that I will have that on file. So that will not hold up the marking process because we have a strict deadline to meet.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, if she could collect them.
She said that she was looking forward to meeting them because she was going to visit each of their islands.
All right, Talia is asking, is suggesting that to find out. I'm going to ask you guys to send her an email and find out because she did say that she was going to, and she is going to. She's going to visit your islands. Yes.
Why don't you come to?
Like Ophelia.
You should come.
If it were only that
easy. Has to send us a mail to say when we have to go to the site. They have not sent any mail, so we don't know.
So regarding what? To go to the site for?
Dr. Daly. Yes, Dr. Daly being in.
Okay. So she will be meeting with you. I think it's regarding practical.
Yes, but then we're not too sure when yet because the school has to send us tell us when to expect her.
Okay. All right. So could be next week. Could be next week leading into the following week.
Because it was supposed to be that same next week.
Oh, all right. So maybe you could ask her about it. I don't know. You could ask her, or you could wait.
Difficult to reach.
Repeat that.
She's difficult to reach.
All right. Maybe you could ask who do you contact in your island?
Nobody.
All right. Contact Miss Mills, Keela Mills.
Okay.
Contact her and ask her, and I know she will answer you. Right.
Okay. So you're not coming to St. Lucia?
Not this time around. If I do come, I've been there once. If I do come back, I most certainly will contact you.
Okay.
There's a gentleman that was a part of the program last year. His name is Alvinus.
Right.
Alvinus. I think he's from St. Lucia as well.
He is.
Yes. Okay. And he actually spoke to me a few days ago on Google Chat or something like that.
Okay.
Right. So I would love to come and meet all of you. And of course, if I come to St. Lucia, you have to come to Dominica as well. So I will sort that out. And of
I'm there waiting. I'm there listening. I'm listening.
all right. So
make that soon. Make that soon. Make that soon. All right.
Okay. Sooner than later. All right. So if there are no other issues, you can enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and I will see you again on Wednesday. And of course, you can contact me, and I will endeavor to reply as soon as possible.
Because she hasn't signed a contract.
Yes,
Talia, I didn't hear that, Talia.
But Miss Berry has not signed a contract with you. So
I did not sign a success contract, Taylor says. So,
okay.
Bound by certain regulations. But yes, I will reply. It might not be in 24 hours as I normally, but I will reply. All right. So enjoy your evening, and all the best.
You too. Same to you, Miss.
Thank you.
You make learning fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, for real.
Very
motivating. You make life easy for us, for real, for real, for real.
Wow. Don't say that next thing she's had on the marking.
Yeah.
You had on the marking?
I hear that rumor. I don't know.
Really?
I don't think it's true.
You had on the marking, huh?
Well,
well.
You cannot give us everything sweet, so.
Ophelia.
What do you expect?
Just making the class, relaxing for me, exciting for me. That's good enough.
That's good enough.
And being understanding when I want to reach you, I can reach you, and even if it's within 2 or 3 days, you will reply, I like that. I like that for real.
Thanks, Roslyn. I really do.
I can work with that for real.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you again on Wednesday.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
The recording is still going on.
Elliot, check your mail.
Let's remember to finish the recording.